Hello, friends. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for your wonderful comments on the videos. It definitely motivates me to create more videos for you. Today's video is focused on the art of creating multiple choice type questions. You know that this becomes more relevant because CBSE has now laid a lot of emphasis on introducing MCQs in assessment. So in this video, we are going to understand the anatomy of an MCQ. We will also see what are the rules for creating a good MCQ. And finally, we will see how to map our MCQ on Bloom's taxonomy. So with these three major objectives, let's get started immediately. So first, let's understand the anatomy of a multiple choice type question. Let's see an example. What is the boiling point of water under standard conditions at sea level? And the options are 100 degrees Celsius, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Kelvin, and 273 degrees Kelvin. Now here, the first part of it is known as the stem. And the second part is known as the key. Now this key is actually the correct answer. And then the other three wrong answers are known as distractors. So we have got three parts of the multiple choice type question: stem, which is the question; key, which is the correct response; distractors, which are the wrong responses. Now let's understand what are the rules for writing the stems. Rule number one is keep it clear and concise, which we say in other terms, specific is terrific. So let's see an example of it. On May 1st, 1707, the Kingdom of Great Britain was formed. Choose by which of the following treaties was the United Kingdom of Great Britain formed? The other way of putting the same question would be, by which of the following treaties was the United Kingdom of Great Britain formed? Both of them are conveying the same question, but here we are trying to unnecessarily make it big. It's not required. So let's try to see that when we are creating the stem, they are very short and specific. We are only providing the information which is required. Now, rule number two is to ask only one question at a time. In one stem, there should be one question only. Let's see an example. The question like, why do plants grow better in soil than in sand or clay? Here you see that there are two questions which are being posed because the advantage of soil over sand would be different and advantage of soil over clay would be different. So it's better to ask one question, and then it could be something like this: why do plants grow better in soil than in clay? So we should always see that our stem is not posing two questions, but it is posing one question. Rule number three, do not copy directly from any studied source. If the children have already done that MCQ during the classwork or it's given in the exercise book, so don't just try to copy the same MCQ and give it in the examination. Always try to make some changes in it or paraphrase the stem so that it looks slightly different and there is a challenge for the students. Rule number four is avoid using negatively worded questions. Now, there's a lot of research which has gone into these negatively worded questions, and it has been found that students find it really difficult to catch the negative orientation of the question, or they find it difficult to work through the language when the question is negatively framed. So a question like, what action would not result in global warming, or tinted lenses for outdoor use are least likely to benefit a person with which of the following ocular conditions? Now you can see working through the language over here is a little difficult. Now, even if I have the good understanding of the ocular conditions, there may be chances of me going wrong just because I've not been able to work through the language. So therefore, it's better to avoid questions which have negative orientation, or if you have to actually put it, then try to put it in bold. Rule number five is check out the answer is not elsewhere in the paper. Many a times it so happens that right in the beginning, we have asked some of the MCQs, and towards the end, there is some or the other subjective question, which is actually giving away the answer to that MCQ. So that is something which we should be very aware of while we are framing a complete question paper. Rule number 6, avoid giving clues in grammar. So example, the police constable was attacked while on his watch. In the above sentence, the underlined word is a, and when you're writing a, which means adjective and adverb are completely ruled out. And it's only out of noun and verb that the child is going to choose, because the clue is given. If you write a/an, then it is fine. So you should avoid giving the clues in grammar, because then it reduces the challenge in the question. Rule number 7 is to see that the stem is standing on its own. The quality of a good stem is that it stands on its own, which means that just by reading the question, the child should be able to answer the question without even going through the options. So if you have created such a stem, that qualifies to be a good stem. Example here, choose the correct nationality of the artist Frederick Soriot. So over here, you see, it's not necessary for the child to actually go through the options, because if he or she actually knows what is the nationality, then the answer would be given. So this stem is standing on its own. So what is the goal of writing the stem? The goal is that the students should be able to answer it correctly, because they know the concept, they know the material, they know the content, not because we have written the questions badly. So this is something which we have to be taking care of while we are writing the stem. Now let's understand what are the rules for writing the distractors. So writing distractors, rule number 1 is there should be only one correct answer. So you should check and recheck that there is just one correct answer. So here, question like, do atoms have color? You have to see that A, B, C, D, all the 4 options which are given, the 3 are completely wrong and only 1 is absolutely correct. So this is one of basic fundamental rule of creating distractors. Rule number 2 is distractors should be plausible, believable. They shouldn't be just silly or plainly wrong. So example, which part of the word is most effective in defining its meaning? And if you're giving options like prefix, stem, leaf, root, you will find that stem and leaf is something which can be easily dismissed. They are silly distractors, right? So therefore, we should see that when we are writing the distractors, they are believable. Rule number 3 is distractors should be connected to commonly held misunderstanding. So wherever you feel that children might have some misconception, use those to create your distractors. Example, what is the length of the spoon? And the options which are given are 2 centimeter, 8, 9, and 10. Now let's see how these distractors are created. 2 centimeter here, if the child is having a misconception and just starting of the spoon is considered. 10 centimeter if the child has the misconception and sees that where is the spoon ending, and so 10 centimeter. Answer like 9 centimeter would be if the child just counts the reference point over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And 8, which is the correct answer, will be only when the child is able to see the difference between 2 and 10. So wherever you feel that the children will have misconception, that is your point of creating the distractor. Next rule is distractors should be of similar length. So let's see an example. Question here is, what is the name of the process through which plants use sun's energy to convert carbon dioxide and water into carbohydrates, releasing oxygen into air? All of us know this is a very simple process of photosynthesis. Now, first of all, see that this particular stem is a really good stem, because anyone who knows the process of photosynthesis just by reading the question will be able to arrive at the answer. What are the distractors? Distractors are respiration, photosynthesis, chlorophyllism, and autotrophism. Now, all the 4 are sounding like a process. So they are plausible, they are believable. And all of them are single words. And you can see here, they are all related to generating food or release of gases. So respiration, photosynthesis, chlorophyll is used in the process of photosynthesis, though chlorophyllism is no term. But just to confuse, this term has been created so that it looks like a process. And autotrophs are the plants which create or generate their own food. So all of these are very closely related. So we should try to see that whenever we are creating distractors, it should be of similar length. Rule number 5 is avoid the patterns in the answer. Generally, for the sake of ease of correction, we try to create patterns so that it's easy for correcting. So try to avoid that. And also avoid the temptation of putting all the correct answers at C place. This is what generally happens while we create the MCQs, that we put the correct answer at C place. So avoid that. Rule number 6 is that the number of distractors should ideally be 4. Don't make it 3, don't make it 5. 3 are less, 5 is more. So here when you keep it 4, then there's 25% chance of the child getting it correctly. Rule number 7. Refrain from using words such as always, never, all, or none. So here, let's see an example. From where did the Iranians and the Greek come? Northwest, northeast, north, south, none of these. Now, it's easy to dismiss this none of these. Most of the time, we try to use these options because we run out of other options. Just to fill and make or create the 4th option, this is used. And that is something which the children can also easily guess. So we should try to, and this reduces the difficulty level of the question. So we should try to avoid using these words. Now let's understand, how do we classify the MCQs on the basis of Bloom's taxonomy? Now here we can see that there are 6 levels of Bloom's taxonomy: remembering, understanding, analyzing, applying, evaluating, and creating. Let's put it into 3 broad categories: remembering and understanding, analyzing and applying, evaluating and creating. Now, the further category in which the MCQs can be created are, the MCQs could be fact-based, or MCQs could be based on a particular concept, or on a principle, or on a procedure. Now, let's see that how do we create all of these category of MCQs based on these levels of Bloom's taxonomy. So first, let's try and see the fact-based questions. Remembering and understanding. An example of this is, who wrote the Constitution of India? This is a fact-based question and it's a remembering question. Analyzing and applying. Referring to the chart below, which continent is most populated? So here there is a chart which is given. The children are going to analyze the chart and then give the answer. But it is a fact-based question. And third one is evaluating and creating. Let's see this one. The fuel tank of Tanya's car has a capacity of 36 liters. The image given is of the fuel gauge of her car. About how many liters of petrol is required to completely fill the fuel tank? Now, here you can see the image. The child is going to evaluate and see that approximately how much amount of petrol would be needed. And from the options, accordingly, the options will be chosen. So this is evaluating. So here you can see that these are fact-based questions and they are at different levels of Bloom's taxonomy. The second is the concept-based questions. Now, remembering and understanding concept-based question could be, which of the following combinations of word depicts the right use of apostrophe? So there would be 4 combinations which will be given and the child has to find out which combination has the right use of apostrophe. So this is based on the concept and it's an understanding based question. Then analyzing and applying. From the given diagram, identify in which organ is this process taking place. So there is analysis which will be done over here. And again, it's a concept based question. And then evaluating and creating. Which part of the word is more effective for defining its meaning? So this is evaluative question because you have to identify which is more effective. So here it's an evaluation based question, but it is a conceptual question. Questions based on principles. So let's see the remembering and understanding question. According to the principles of word order, what comes first in a basic declarative statement? So here you need to know the principles of how the word order is. So basically the language teachers will understand it better, that in a declarative statement, what comes first and what comes later. So this is basically an understanding based question, and it is based on the principle of word order. Now, analyzing and applying question, which of the following statements is a direct application of Newton's second law of motion? Here you'll find that there are options, and from the options, when the child is choosing which is a direct application, that is an analysis based question, but it is based on the principles. Then evaluating and creating question, which of these statements best supports a democratic form of government? Now here again, it's an evaluative question because you're trying to choose which is the best one. So it's evaluative in nature. It is based on the principles of democratic form of government. Now let's see questions based on procedures. Remembering and understanding question, while performing a cardiopulmonary resuscitation, commonly known as CPR, what is the next step after doing the chest compression? So this is talking about the procedure which is involved in giving a CPR. It is, of course, an understanding-based question. Then the next would be, how would leaving out baking soda from a bread recipe affect the final outcome? This is, again, a procedure-based question, procedure of making a bread, but it is analysis. If you leave out baking soda, what is its effect on the outcome? Then evaluating and creating, what is the most crucial step in preserving a specimen for scientific study? Here you should know what is the procedure of preserving a specimen. And then you have to evaluate and say which one is the most crucial step. So therefore, it is based on procedure and it's an evaluative question. So I believe you have now understood about how do we create questions on different levels of Bloom's taxonomy, and how can these questions be classified as fact-based questions, concept-based questions, principle-based questions, and procedure-based questions. So I'm going to leave you with a question. Try to classify this one. It's a very simple question, and anyone can answer irrespective of whatever subject you're teaching. The same amount of water is poured into each of the containers shown below. They are left uncovered in a warm room. After a day, which container will have the least amount of water left in it? Okay, so you have to try and find out whether it's a remembering question, understanding, analysis, application, evaluation, or creation. And also you have to tell whether to which category does it belong: fact, concept, principles, and procedures. Do write it in the comment box, and I will definitely reply whether it is correct or it is not. So friends, I believe that after watching this video, you would be creating good multiple choice type questions for your students. If you have any doubts, please do write in the comment box and I'll definitely reply. If you have found this video useful, don't forget to share it with your fellow educators, and also do not forget to share, like, and subscribe this channel. Thank you so much.